And with me now in studio is Jeremy Saltan, political advisor for Naftali Bennett's Yamina Party and director of its English operations. Jeremy, great to have you back. So first, let me just ask you, how significant a loss was the failure of the coalition last night or overnight to pass this extension of the so-called Palestinian reunification law?
Well, this was a loss for the state of Israel, and it's an unfortunate thing. There was a very clear opinion that was sent by the Shin Bet, and of course opposition leader Benjamin Netanyahu read it. Since the 12 years that he was prime minister, he made sure to take this temporary order and extend it every 6 months. This is a terrible thing. Look, the opposition said, look, we're going to try to embarrass the coalition. What they did was embarrass themselves. And besides that, they went ahead and took a matter of national security and decided to politicize.
But they did expose these ideological differences, some might say fissures, in the coalition.
No, I remember in the last national unity government that Netanyahu had with Gantz, whenever one of these issues came up, it was always clear to us not to play with games of national security. On national security, there should not be a coalition or an opposition. You know, when we were in the opposition over the last year plus prior to the formation of this government last month, we knew what it was to show responsibility. And unfortunately, what Netanyahu is doing, along with his buddy Smotrich, is just acting like a bunch of crybabies. I understand that it's hard for them to be in the opposition. You know, we just came out of it, so we know how that feels like. But this comes down to people's lives. There's something that should be said here. If you're looking at a majority of the terrorist attacks that have been carried out over the last period of time, a majority of those attacks came from people who entered through the family unification or the descendants of.
But the members of your own of this coalition actually argued, say it was not a security issue; it's a demographic issue, and the bill is racist, and that's members of the coalition.
Yes, I'm very well I'm well aware of the opinions coming from the coalition. I'm again looking at the fact of what the Shin Bet has said on this, and the fact that even though they decided to go ahead and make an issue, the two members of the Ram party that did not go ahead and vote for this, in the end of the day, with all of their voices that we heard throughout the last month, Meretz stepped up and they voted in favor. They did whatever they had to do in terms of their constituency.
Jeremy, so going ahead, there was some reports today, I think, coming out of from Interior Minister Ayelet Shaked that the coalition might try to do another vote, even this evening. I don't know if that's going anywhere. Does the coalition see a way to get this extension passed?
Look, frankly, right now, I don't see any difference between last night and tonight. If we go to another vote, we're probably going to end up in the same situation. We're not going to go ahead and bring it up for another vote until we would actually feel that we could win that vote. And in the meantime, we're in a situation where, at least as far as we're concerned, as well as the Shabak, yes, this is a situation where the national security of the state of Israel has been harmed.
Right. Now, focusing on your Yamina party, there was a key vote against the government, and that was Amichai Shikli, the sort of, if you call him, renegade member of Knesset of the Yamina party, who had said that even though he voted against this government, joining with Ram on issues of principle, would vote with the government. He did not. He voted against it. There's talk about finally sanctioning him, for example, preventing him from running again for office with any existing party. Is the Yamina party going to act on this?
You know, yesterday we spoke frankly about the issue in the faction meeting, and it was understood by everyone that Shikli was going to go ahead and vote with us, and then he decided to go back on his agreement and vote against. We're obviously going to reconvene and decide. There have been members of Knesset from my party who've already said publicly that they do think we should sanction him and make him a renegade or rogue MK, which would prevent him from running the next Knesset. I personally am not willing to go that far and say that here tonight. I do think the faction needs to reconvene and decide what it is we're going to do with an MK that has very obviously made it clear to the entire country, if not globe, that he does not view himself as a member of our party.
Okay, I have to do a little editorial due diligence and say you are are not. You have a personal issue at stake here, because if he were to leave the Knesset or be forced or some way, that would open the way up, I believe, for you to join Parliament.
Yes, I do have a conflict of interest. If Shikli chooses to resign from Knesset as opposed to being sanctioned, then I would enter the Knesset as a Knesset member. That's correct.
Okay, which probably would be to the pleasure of Naftali Bennett and the current party. But of course, even if you were to censure Shikli and prevent him from running in the next Knesset, that would actually not force him out of this current. He would be a sort of party of one for the
The dilemma that he has at the moment is either to, assuming that we would go ahead and sanction him, and like I said, I did not call for that here tonight, nor did I say that we're going to do that.
Right.
But if he is in a situation where he needs to choose between either accepting the sanctions put on him by the Knesset committee or resigning, if he resigns, that would open the door for him to be able to run in the next Knesset.
Right. The key point here is that one vote could be key on several issues coming up. For example, that budget vote that could determine the fate of this government. Jeremy Saltan, thank you for joining us on The Rundown.